New tonight, a story you'll only see here. The man wanted for the homicide of another man at a Macon gas station on Monday turned himself into the Bibb County Jail this evening. Our cameras were the only ones rolling as Lamijah Willis walked into custody. Willis has been wanted on the charge of murder for shooting 21-year-old Clintavious Mister in the head after an altercation. But Willis's attorney, Melvin Raines II, says his client acted in self-defense. Raines also says that Willis was not fleeing, but was waiting to turn himself in because he wanted to make sure his fiancee and infant child were safe without him, fearing retaliation.
He also stated words to the effect that, if he don't like it, he would come and kill him in front of his fiancee and his newborn baby. So with that, along with the threatening gestures that the victim made, made Mr. Willis do what he had to do. He was in reasonable fear for his life.
Now, Willis didn't want to speak directly with us at the Bibb County Jail, instead referring us to his attorney. Willis held a Bible in his hands as he walked into that jail.
It's bad. We already had Death Valley. Now we over here in Green Meadows with the same tragic situation. And the question began to linger, when will this stop?
11 people have died in Macon so far this year at the hands of another, and 5 happened just this past week. Someone shot 3 people, killing 2 of them at the Green Meadows townhouses last Wednesday, and the killer is still at large. WGXA's Jayla Whitfield gathered with the community today as they mourned the loss of the victims and raised awareness about violence in their neighborhoods. Jayla.
Another person less than 7 days ago. Today, the community came together to celebrate the life and legacy of 27-year-old Matthew Davis. They tell me that the violence must stop.
2, 3.
Let's go, Dozens gathered to remember the life of Matthew Davis.
A young man who potentially had a long life to live, we thought. But of course, events happened here.
Davis was only 27 when he was gunned down and killed 1 week ago at the Green Meadows townhomes.
In his life and in his death, he had brought all us together.
Pastor Ferguson and Pastor Williams spoke out about the violence in Macon, while Davis's killer is still at large.
2 things that happen when you're in the street, jail or dead. Now his mother is hurt, along with Antoine Fuller. His mama is hurt.
I asked Davis's uncle when he heard that his nephew was shot and killed, what did he think?
I thought about the fact that another black man has lost his life in such a short period of time. I thought about the fact that another mother's crying the loss of a son.
Davis leaves behind 2 younger children.
We are better than this. We got young kids out here all over this community right now.
Pastor Williams says there is strength in unity, and it's time to get our community back.
God, cover this community, God. Look on every community in the city of Macon, Georgia. Look on every hood in Macon, Georgia.
In Macon, Jayla Whitfield.
Continuing coverage tonight, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation along with the Wheeler County Sheriff's Office are investigating after human remains were found. Those remains were found in a wooded area off of Stuckey Church Road in Glenwood. An autopsy has been scheduled to determine the cause of death. Anyone with information is urged to contact the Wheeler County Sheriff's Office. New tonight, 1 person is dead and 2 others are injured after a train collided with a log truck in Dodge County. Coroner Joe Smith identifying the victim as 23-year-old Morgan Sheffield. Officials with Norfolk Southern say 2 locomotives and 3 rail cars derailed during that collision. Georgia State Patrol is investigating that crash. Officials expect to be on the scene until at least 2 a.m., clearing that area. Developing now, the Justice Department is reversing its plans to print the 2020 census that will not include the citizenship question. The move comes after President Trump tweeting today saying he will be moving forward with the citizenship question. This contradicts his own administration. Officials announced yesterday the next steps are not immediately clear with the administration. The 2020 census has already been sent to the printers. The federal government will soon be setting up migrant processing tents in Laredo, Texas, directly between 2 of the country's busiest international bridges. Joe Galley with our sister station in San Antonio reports from Laredo with how the city is trying to fight back against the Department of Justice.
I want to take a second to give you some perspective at some of the reasons why folks in Laredo are a little worried. Behind me, that's the Rio Grande, and there you can see International Bridge number 2, one of the busiest bridges that connects the U.S. and Mexico. And right there in front of this hotel, that's where they want to set up these tents. The tents, which will be put on this now empty parking lot behind a hotel along the Rio Grande, will hold around 20 virtual immigration courtrooms, capable of processing around 200 migrant families a day. According to Laredo city officials, every migrant family caught coming across between Del Rio and Roma could be sent here. Families won't live in these tents. They'll be sent back across the border into Mexico to wait for their court date.
But I know they're rushed for time. They want to implement this as soon as possible. So maybe that's working against us.
Tents can have a bad reputation when it comes to the migrant crisis. The city of Laredo is asking the federal government to move the virtual courtrooms to either an empty federal courthouse downtown or to this shopping center located next to one of the international bridges.
I think I can speak for a lot of people here that we are against it. We don't want that here.
Not everyone who goes through this process will be approved for asylum status. According to the city, people who don't pass will be deported back to their country of origin.
Once they see that people are being sent back, I think that may help, to stem the flow.
Other virtual courtrooms are expected to be built in Brownsville and Yuma, Arizona. It's not going to be long for these tents to be ready. It should only take a couple weeks to build them. They should be operational by August 1st. Reporting in Laredo, I'm Joe Galley.
Straight ahead, the story of how one man is getting back on his feet after being in intensive care.